Hello, I do believe I am live. Oh, just got the Cinderella tidying up because it's a pigsty. Just looking to see if I've got any questions. I know I've got loads because I've asked for questions. Whether they're going to pop up on here is another matter. Are we all? Yes, I've got people here. Hello, everybody. Right, Isabel, move. Nobody wants to see you.
Here's Tallulah. She's very much loved by me.
Yes. Okay, off you go, please. Here you go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Insta Live. Hello, everybody. I'm here to answer your questions. Hello, Leanne, Sylvester, and hopefully Jessica Glentworth is going to join us. Right, I'm going to get on and ask some questions. Please ask your question. Put your questions on the side there. Oh, just had something pop up there. Right. Okay. First one. I'm a first-time mum. Almost 29 weeks. I think little boy's head circumference was on the 12th centile at 20 weeks. The sonographer said that everything above 10 is okay. We've got a private 4D scan at 27 weeks. His head was on the 5th centile. It was on the 7th today. Everything else looks fine anatomically. Should I be worried? No. I think the thing is with anything like this is if the sonographers were worried about anything, they would have referred you to the consultant. And so assuming that they've not highlighted anything or said that there's any issue, I would probably take that and think actually there's a small head coming out of my vagina. That's probably what I would think, my lovely. It's not easy to not worry when you hear these things, and when people come away with quick comments like everything's fine as long as it's over 10, not thinking that you might go in the next day and it's 7. So I think unless they have come up and said we want you to see the consultant, I would assume that they're quite happy with the growth. Do come back and let us know if anything changes and how you get on. I've recently given birth to my 3rd child. She's 8 days old. Congratulations. And I'm exclusively breastfeeding. I'm getting pain in the right boob. Think I have previous tissue damage in the breast nipple from breast pumping on the wrong size flange with previous child. Can also feel milk ducts under the skin. Basically just wondering if it's usual to feel the lumps under the skin without being... Yes, it is usual. And what you'll find is that once baby feeds, that those lumps should go and then they will return. But if you've got any hot spots or any red areas of skin, or you start to feel feverish or unwell, then I would suggest that you just touch base with your GP just to check you've not got an infection or anything like that. So yeah, there you go. Right, I've got some questions here. Where can I watch it? Oh, bless you. Let's have a look. Hang on, someone wants to. Oh, where is she? Where's she gone? Oh. Don't know how to answer that because she's not on here. Reply. Facebook. Your baby club. Sorry, guys. Right. Where should babies nap during the day? Babies should nap during the day wherever you are. So they should be asleep in the same room as you are. That doesn't mean to say that you can't nip to the loo or you can't go and make a cup of tea, but you need to be milling around and them not be in a room on their own for, a couple of hours. So they should be wherever you are. Let's have a look at this one. Share response. 38 weeks pregnant. How to start getting labour started naturally. An oldie but a goodie. We get this one every week, don't we? One of the things that is thought that could do it is nipple stimulation. So you may want to do some colostrum harvesting. That could help. So hand expressing. Eating dates is another one that's thought that might sort of help you not go overdue, but it's more akin to reducing your risk of tearing and bleeding. I would avoid the spicy food wives' tale, because all that does is get your tummy aggravated, and then you're then going into labour with tummy ache, and that's not really what you want. So yeah, and the other one is sex. So if you can find a willing partner, which might be a struggle after you being 9 months pregnant, I would imagine you've not been easy. None of us are easy. So you might want to do that. Oh, we've got loads of people here today. How do you get the baby packages? Right, so that's a question for your baby club, I'm assuming, Jeanette. Hopefully one of the guys here are watching, they might be able to advise, but I don't get involved in that sort of thing. But if it's a decent package, let me know. Is there any medication known to science that I can stop my wife attacking me while I'm in labour? Oh, bless him. Who's asked that? Alex, bless you. Oh, no, Fuzzy Nomad 86. Oh dear, he's frightened of his wife. Well, I would just behave yourself. Behave yourself. You weren't worried when you were getting yourself in this sorry mess, were you? Quite happy to go near her then. Just be calm. Offer her anything she should wish. And then run for your life, my mate. Right, I like that question. Second pregnancy at 10 weeks, had a miscarriage in July at 6 weeks. Any general tips and advice? There isn't, because if I turn around to you and say, don't worry, that's ridiculous. I think it's just sort of understanding that miscarriages are much more common than you would think. And the fact that you've had one doesn't mean to say that you're going to have another one. Quite a lot of us have been where you are, and it is really worrying and frightening. But at 10 weeks, you've got further than you did last time, and we've got every reason to hope. You've had a successful pregnancy first time, I'm assuming. I'm hoping, unless that, I don't know whether your first pregnancy was the miscarriage, so I'm not 100% sure, but let's just hope, fingers crossed, you've got further than last time. At 12 weeks, everything's going to be ticking away nicely. So again, just chill. Worrying isn't going to make any difference. There is nothing you can physically do other than make sure that you're not drinking and not smoking. You're looking after yourself. There is nothing that you can do to change the outcome. So you just got to have faith, my lovely, which I know is really difficult. It is so difficult. What to put my newborn into sleep? Swaddle, grow bag or sleeping bag? Thank you. So it depends on their age. It depends on their weight. Swaddles are fine, but there are some things out there now saying about their hips and all that sort of jazz, but we have been swaddling them for years and years. But there are swaddles now that you can get that don't incorporate the hips. Your Baby Club do one. I think Tommy Tippy do another one. Just make sure with sleeping bags, which are great, so grow bags, sleeping bags, all sort of same thing, that they are properly fitting. So make sure that the neck isn't too wide, that baby can't slip into it, and that it is, the best way to work it out is that you shouldn't be able to take it off your baby without undoing it, because if you can, they can slip into it. So yes, there's no right or wrong answer to that question. They're all appropriate as long as they're used appropriately. Is raspberry leaf tea good to drink to bring on labour? Well, do you know, Nadine, I think that's a good question, and I get asked it all the time. I'm not convinced it's going to do anything. It doesn't taste of anything. It doesn't even taste of bloody raspberries. It's just some mouldy tea, mouldy water. But what I would say is it won't do you any harm. So if you're desperado, I would maybe have a cup of raspberry leaf tea, but I'm not convinced. How can you prepare yourself for a planned C-section? Just chill. Planned C-section is the nicest way to have your baby, Terry. I had Jack by emergency cesarean and then Isabel by planned elective, and it was lovely. I went in, I was all packed, knew my date and everything, went in the morning, got a taxi to pick me up at 7 o'clock in the morning because Keithy had to take Jack to school. Got in the taxi like this, a weeble, and the taxi driver said, "Oh, where are you going to, love?" I said, "Oh, the hospital, I'm going to have my baby." He nearly crashed before he'd even set off. He was like, "Where's your husband?" I said, "He's in the house." Well, I think he was going to get out and bop him. I was like, no, he's dropping him off. He's going to drop him off at school, then he's going to meet me there. So I went into the hospital, 7 o'clock, did all my blood pressure and all that jazz. And then the midwife came to me and she said, "She's all right. She's your last on the list." So she said, "I'd just chill out. She won't be doing you till 2 o'clock in the afternoon." So I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." So I think because of that, I didn't think about anything. I just sat there flicking through my OK magazine. And then Keithy arrived about 9:15. He dropped him off and came straight there. And he was sat there saying, "Oh, what time do you think it will be?" "I don't know." They said this afternoon. And then next minute, this midwife came in, 10:50. She said, "Right, you're up." I said, "I was not supposed to be this afternoon." She said, "No, you're in, let's go. We're going to do you now. You've been bumped to the front." I was like, I don't know why. Anyway, I just walked down there. And I think because the first one was all like a bit manic, I walked in and I was just like, what are we doing? She said, "Just calm down, my lovely. Just sit there. We're just going to..." And then they all introduced themselves really nice and slow. It was just lovely. It was so calm. And it was just really nice way to have your baby, actually, because I wasn't tired, because I hadn't laboured. And The only thing I remember is that compared to the first time round, it felt really slow, because it, from my memory, the first time when we went in, it was just like in, out, that's it, get this baby out. Whereas this time it was like, come on, hurry up, crank it up a bit. But she was born at 9:30, 9:36 she was born. So yeah, it was lovely. And then I was put to bed and I recovered much quicker. So in answer to your question, how do you prepare yourself for a planned C-section? Just look forward to it. It's really nice. You know, when your baby's coming, you're not going to labour, so you should recover really quickly. Your risk of bleeding is lower because you're not laboured. So you'll be absolutely fine, my lovely. Come and let us know. Holly, is it possible to have a water birth if you have gestational diabetes? That's going to depend, my lovely. One, on what your sugars are like. Secondly, on how you're controlling your diabetes. What your BMI is, what your baby's measurements are, and what your hospital policy is. So it's really difficult for me to say, because some midwife might say, oh yeah, get the pill, but it's going to come down to your hospital policy, really. I mean, I could go to the hospital and be like, oh, she should be all right, won't she? She should be all right. But the likelihood is my sister in charge is going to say, that's not our guideline. Our guideline is this, this, and this. So what I would say is, if you are thinking actually you want to go into the pool, you need to have that discussion before the day, because if doing it on the day, there are things that we need to think about and plan about. And again, it's about risk, isn't it? It's about why is it advised that you don't. And if you agree that that's the right way to go, then, you know, if you've got a really large baby on board because of the diabetes, then I would probably say it's probably not the most appropriate place. 18 weeks pregnant and not really feeling much movements, is that normal? That is normal, Sally. I wouldn't be starting to worry at all until 23 weeks. Some people don't feel them that early, some people do. It's everybody's different, but it can take up to 22, 23 weeks, and then you'll feel it. Is giving birth in the pool easier than... Oh, it's like the House of Horrors, this place. Bloody mice, tortoises, kids, flies. Oh, it's awful. Is giving birth in the pool easier than natural? Well, I think you've got a bit more movement, Kira. I think you've got more mobilisation to be able to be in whatever position you want to be quite effortlessly. So yeah, I think a lot of people would say that it is easier, but I think a lot of it depends on how calm you are, how well you breathe, how you're managing with labour. But I certainly think it is a really good form of pain relief. So yeah, I would give it a go. What do you think of these results, please? Should I be worried? No. 1 in 111 risk for Downs. I would say there are various ways of looking at this. Basically, you've got less than, if I said to you, 99% likely that your baby hasn't got, in fact 99.9% or 99.987% likely that your baby hasn't, you would say, oh, I'll take that. And that is less than that, because it's higher than that, because this is a 1 in 111. So you get less than a 1% chance that your baby has got Down syndrome. So I think, although it is lower than a lot of people get back, some people get 1 in 4. And in actual fact, my sister got 1 in 4 and had all the tests, and my niece does not have Down syndrome. So I think it's very difficult when you do come in that slightly increased risk category, but that is still only less than a 1% chance. I'm almost 30. Oh, where did we go then? The screen moved. Lost everybody now. I'm 39 plus 2 and measuring just above the 97 centile line. I'm having a growth scan tomorrow. I'm so worried. Could the baby's weight still be okay? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Lauren, what you've got to remember is that these scans have got about a 20% margin for error. So quite often we see these big scans and everything, then babies come out and they're like 7, 8 pounds. So it's really difficult, because telling you not to worry is a bit futile. But what they may say is, look, we do think we've got a large baby on board. And it could be if you've got a very tall husband, or you're very tall, or, you know, there's so many different things. You know, my cousin is nearly 6 foot and her partner is well over 6 foot. Well, she's not going to have a baby that's on the 25th centile, is she? So, you know, we've got to think about the whole picture and not just that statistic. So Try not to worry yourself, my lovely. I'm almost 38 weeks and the baby's really high up in my ribs. Does this mean it will be a while until I go into labour? Not necessarily. It really doesn't necessarily follow like that. Sometimes they just suddenly drop, and if your waters just suddenly break and your baby drops into the pelvis, then happy days. It's really not a huge indicator. But the lower down they are, the more likely it is that they're going to come quicker, but it doesn't necessarily flow that you're going to go way overdue. I'm 40 plus 3, my first baby, and midwife tried a membrane sweep last week, but the cervix wasn't ready, and tried again today, but still wasn't ready. Is this normal at this stage? I'm booked in to be induced at 40 plus 13. Is this a normal time frame? Yeah, it can be, and it could be that you do need to be induced. It could be that your cervix just doesn't start to do anything, and you need to have that kickstart. But at 40 plus 3, you've still got another 10 days, and a lot can happen in 10 days. So I wouldn't give up hope yet. I'm 19 weeks and not showing. Is this normal? Yes. I would say it's most people are starting to get a bit of a bump, but it doesn't mean to say that there's anything wrong. My cousin's friend was at work about 6 weeks ago now, and been working, been doing all sorts of stuff, been climbing, walking, doing a cycling. And she said, oh, I just don't feel very well. I've got these bloody awful stomach cramps, awful stomach cramps. 3 hours later, she gave birth to a baby. And honestly, I kid you not, and I saw the picture of her, you wouldn't, and you think, oh, you must have known. There was nothing on this girl. She was like a whip. And yeah, she had this baby. Went to work in the morning, absolutely fine. Rang her husband, came home, she said, I'm really sorry, we've had a baby. It was like, what the? Anyway, yeah, they did. So don't worry, my lovely, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll be 38 weeks tomorrow, but induction 39 weeks, so I was hoping to try and help myself along. I'm a little bit nervous about the induction process. Try not to be too nervous, Nadine. One of the biggest things with the induction process is that it can take a long time. So if you go in fully armed with loads of things to entertain yourself and books, games, nice food, all that sort of stuff, rather than sitting there staring at each other or getting yourself anxious, you will fare a bit better, because it does take a bit of a while. But you will be fine. Are there any good books I can read? I feel like I don't know anything. Currently 16 weeks. You know what? I thought you were just looking for a book recommendation then. I was going to say, go and read Flowers in the Attic. That's a brilliant one. It's a really good book. It's got nothing to do with pregnancy. Right, 16 weeks, Beth. You don't need a book. You need to go to Let's Talk Birth and Baby. .co.uk and sign up for a free antenatal class. It's class 1 is free. That will get you ready for straightforward normal labour and birth, and I run that class. It's every Saturday morning and Monday evening, so you can pick either one of those. And then there is 8 other classes for you to choose from, and each one is £10. So it's not, and you can pick and choose what you want to do. So that's the best way. I would say that is going to be better for you than a book, because it'll give you loads of opportunity to ask loads of questions and get you ready. Worry not, we'll get you ready. Naomi, I keep getting mastitis and it's not clearing, even with antibiotics. I asked the doctor for something to stop my milk supply, but they said they don't do that anymore. I just want to get back to normal now. Any tips on reducing milk with mastitis? So, Naomi, so you're not feeding baby any longer. If you're not feeding baby any longer, go and get some cabbage leaves, get Savoy cabbage and stick them in the bra. That will really help with any discomfort that you've got. If you're finding that they're getting engorged, get warm flannels in the bath and just gently place them on there, and that might just relieve a little bit of pressure. But if they won't give you the cabergoline, and I have been hearing that people won't prescribe it, then I would go with cabbage leaves, and hopefully it'll dry up. Bless you. Pros and cons of ECV. So ECV is external cephalic version, and that is where we try and manually turn the baby that's breech. The pros are, if it works, that's your pro. The cons are it's uncomfortable and it only has about a 50% success rate, and sometimes babies turn but then turn back. I think it depends on how important it is for you to have a vaginal delivery and feel that you've done everything in your power to get that. I don't have any firm views either way, other than I know it can be a bit uncomfortable. Kaylee, is it normal to have on-off pregnancy symptoms for 7 weeks if you're pregnant? I'm not being sarcastic, Kayla. When you say, well, yes, I mean, I think your pregnancy symptoms can come and go and they can fluctuate. Yeah, I mean, I think at 7 weeks, they're probably just sort of ramping up and you'll get a bit of a rush of it. And then it might just get a bit worse before it steadies off at around 12 weeks. Angela, 30 weeks today, but haven't had any antenatal classes due to lockdown and feeling so very much in the dark. Do you have any advice of books I can read, etc.? Also, I'm considering planned cesarean due to my age at 46. Reason being, we want less stress for the baby. Can you advise Angela? Go and book yourself onto Let's Talk Birth and Baby antenatal class. There is spaces on this Saturday at 10:30 with me. And I go through labour and birth, and then there is another one which is on a Tuesday, which is complex labour and birth, and that will really help you if you do decide to have a cesarean section. So I would do the classes if I was you rather than books. I think they're going to be more helpful. You've got plenty of time. I do the classes every week, so you should be able to get most of them in there. So I would have a little look at there. I'll put the link down here. There you go, my lovely. If you have a look there, and that you'll be able to sign on there. Any advice for helping with morning sickness and lightheadedness? Oh, Celeste, it's miserable, isn't it? I think if it is extreme to the point where you can't keep anything down and you're becoming dehydrated, you need to go and see your doctor because they can give you something for it. I would advise eating little and often, making sure that you are hydrated all the time. Maybe ask your partner to bring you a little bit of something in bed in the morning if that's when you're lightheaded. It could be that you've got quite low blood pressure, which is making you, look at me slouching, making you a bit dizzy. So just standing up slowly, resting when you can, and eating little and often. But if it's extreme, go to the doctors. I have heard that the NHS England have stepped in saying they have to let partners into the hospital for appointments and the whole labour, etc. Is this true? If so, when do the hospitals have to implement it, as it has been the excuse from my hospital? I don't think you'll find that they have to. I don't think it's being legislated. I think they're saying we would like you to. But it will, I think, come down to each individual head of midwifery as to whether they do. I think the vast majority will, but I think it's coming at a very difficult time where we're clamping down on lots of things. So I know my local hospital has just clamped down on all visiting, nothing to do with maternity, and they've clamped down on it because we're heading into a second wave. So I think you may find some of you slip into the net and get in and get your partners there, but it wouldn't surprise me if we do a backpedal on that because we are so desperately trying to reduce the rate of transmission. So not ideal, but I will keep you posted if I hear anything different. Do you have any advice regarding carpal tunnel? 30 weeks, but quite bad on the right hand and figured none whilst it's horrible. The only thing that really will relieve it is when the baby is born, and it can take a little while after baby's born because you've had that compression of the nerve. They don't just necessarily spring back. It will come back, but yeah, it's not very nice. I think you can ask to be referred to physio if it's really bad, but I'm not sure how much it will do. I'm 32 weeks and had the whooping cough vaccine. Does my husband need to have it as well? No, not as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure not anyway. Right, I've got a few on here. Referred for ECV. Can I have, oh, I've just answered that one. 2 weeks old babies, very snuffly at night. Is this normal? Really normal. And they sound like little truffle pigs. You could think they've been full of liquid and mucus and everything all that time. So it just takes a wee while to get it out. You may find that a few good vomits and it's out, but babies can be snuffly for quite a while. If you have extra amniotic fluid, how is this usually managed? Is there anything I can do? So extra amniotic fluid is called polyhydramnios. Don't need to remember that, but it is an excess of fluid. The only thing that they will do is, one, monitor baby's growth, make sure they're growing as they should be. But secondly, if there is any point that you need to have your waters broken, it will be what we call a controlled ARM, breaking of the waters, just in case in that whoosh of water the cord comes down at all. So we will just monitor you for that. But other than that, they'll just keep an eye on you. Are midwife-led units equipped to deal with complications both post-birth. They are to a certain degree. So if you start having heavy bleeding or anything like that, we're trained in emergency situations and how to deal with them. But, you know, with the best will in the world, if things deteriorate and there is an issue, you may need to be transferred into the main unit. So a lot of midwife-led units are actually part of the main unit. So it's just a trolley dash down the corridor, or quite often the emergency team will run to you. But if you are on a standalone unit, you may well find that you have to go in an ambulance. So that's the downside of them. I'm 9 days overdue and so fed up. When can I have an induction? Well, they should give you a date tomorrow, my lovely. So they should be starting to really think about it in the next day or so. You'll get there, I promise. My baby is 1 week old and is formula fed and hasn't had a poo for 5 days. Okay, so if your baby is, there is any worry with your baby and it's not settled or it's not happy, then I would probably speak to your GP, maybe give it another day or so, see whether you get any punamis or anything. But if you are worried, you need to take them to see a doctor. I'm exclusively pumping, but my supply seems to be slowing down despite pumping at the, what that is. I think when you are expressing exclusively, there is that risk that it will diminish because it's not as effective as the baby sucking at the breast. So some women manage to do it forever in a day. Some women, they find that the more they express, if they're not having the baby to the breast, that it does reduce. Is it best to express colostrum before birth? Yes, I absolutely think it's a great thing to do if you can. It's not an indicator of your future milk supply. So if you try it and it doesn't work for you, I don't have nits, I promise, and I'm scratching. If you try it and it doesn't work for you, don't get stressed about it, but it is a really handy thing to have done if you can do it. And if you want more information on that, my infant feeding class is on Wednesday nights, and I go into quite a lot of detail about colostrum harvesting, so sign on to that. When my partner gives birth, does she have to stay in hospital because of the lockdown? And if so, can I stay with her? So there's no reason why she would have to stay in the hospital. Generally, as long as you're all fit and well, you'll go home pretty quickly. A lot of hospitals don't allow partners to stay overnight, irrelevant of COVID. So you just need to find out what's going on in your normal hospital, in your hospital. Is it okay to feed bottle-fed babies on demand? My baby is 3 weeks old and is feeding very well, taking 100 to 120 mils most feed and generally every 3 hours, but can sometimes want another bottle after an hour and a half to 2 hours, but have seen a few different opinions that they should only be fed every 3 to 4 hours. I think if they're asking for it, the odd bottle here and there is not going to do any harm. It's not going to. These are guidelines; they're not set in stone, so I wouldn't worry too much. I think you'll be absolutely fine, and just keep an eye on the weight. Right, you've kept me busy for a full half hour, so that is me finished for today. I do have some space on our practical parenting class this evening, so safe sleep, nappies, bathing, looking after the cord, jaundice, all that sort of stuff. So if anybody's interested in that, do come and join me at 6:30. I'm 36 weeks and notes say relation to brim 1 to 5. Does that mean head is engaged? So relation to brim 1 to, I think it's probably 1/5 engaged. So we have two ways of describing it. So it's either 1/5 engaged or palpable. So if it's 1/5 palpable, we can only feel 1 finger's worth of the head. If it's 4/5 engaged, we can feel 1 centimetre of the head. If it's 4/5 palpable, it's quite high up. It's floating around in the, still not really in the pelvis. If it's 1/5 engaged, exactly the same. It's still floating up there. Sorry, I know it's very confusing. I'm having a planned section at 37 weeks. What can I do if my colostrum hasn't come in? I do want to breastfeed. Then don't worry about it, my lovely. A lot of places will say that you can start giving it a go at 36 weeks, but it really is supposed to be 37, so you would need to check with your midwife. But don't worry about it. Colostrum harvesting is more beneficial. It's more of a benefit for parents just to relieve your anxiety as opposed to a necessity to your baby. Right. You lovely lot. You've been great as always and kept me busy, which is what I like. I will be back on Tuesday. Sorry, Margie. I'll be back on Tuesday over on Instagram, Your Baby Club. And I've got free classes this weekend on Saturday morning if anybody wants to join me, and on Monday And that's it, nothing else to report. Still haven't caught the mouse, still running around. I'm still slightly crazy, and I shall, oh, my baby's 5 months old, how to introduce solid foods. Oh, bless you, that's a whole other question, and probably I'm not your best person. I do know that there's a nutritionist that visits your baby club, so have a look online for her. Can't remember her name. Right, I'm going before I get any more questions. I've got to go. You're all great, and I shall see you soon. Bye.